Hey Daniel, hey Austin, hey everybody. So I'm Tom. I'm a physics student in Trinity College Dublin, and I'm building Patch. So Patch finds and accelerates great young builders. We bring together high potential young people and immerse them in an environment that helps them fulfill that potential. We're focused on exploring, learning, and building. Learning by doing, I meant to say. And so you're probably asking, is it a startup accelerator? No, it's a people accelerator. Now, let me show you one of last year's participants, Diana. She's an award-winning young biochemist, and she'll tell you a bit more about why Patch is needed.
And there's no one place, I think, in Ireland where you can meet a group of people with cool backgrounds, cool stories, cool projects coming up, and just fascinating lives, and being able to talk with them and like connect with them and see what they're like. And I think Patch has done that.
So we bring together extraordinary young people like Diana, and we give them a space where they can build together and create. Now, the idea is that Patch is a local search network that brings together such young people so that they can later go on to global success through the likes of Pioneer. Last summer, we ran our pilot program. It took place in Dogpatch Labs. That's a startup hub in Dublin. Now, we had 12 participants take part. They had previously worked on quantum computing algorithms. Diana had done biochemistry research, and some of them, they had just done a lot of hacking. And they spent 6 weeks building projects together. They ranged from an internet-first textbook to a 3D printing tool for kids' Minecraft creations, and CropSafe, incidentally, a startup that's now top of the global Pioneer leaderboard. And teams were also paired with expert mentors, and they learned from inspiring role models who gave talks and workshops. This includes Des Traynor of Intercom and other founders of businesses worth billions of dollars. Now, this summer, we're running an expanded and refined summer accelerator. It's Patch 2020. It's remote first due to the pandemic, and we've got an amazing lead mentor. He's a startup founder whose company was previously acquired by Facebook. We'll continue to grow Patch, and in the future, we'll expand into more initiatives like, say, curated work experience programs. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is to create the most effective environment for high potential young people to realize that potential. Potential is builders of the future. Now, if you know someone, a teenager who should take part, get in touch, or if you'd like to support us anyway, I'd love to hear from you. Thanks very much.
First of all, I'm super jealous of all you youngins who get to do stuff like this. Me and Daniel had to like hang out on random message boards and try to find like-minded people. So really, really cool. What age groups are you targeting?
So our focus is on 16 to 19-year-olds. A little bit lenient. So if someone's a great fit and they're like a year within or out of that, we're open. But 16 to 19.
How do people find out about you?
So as I mentioned, we're very locally search network, but kind of three-pronged approach. And recruiting is open now, so applications are open for the next 2 weeks. But one is really high signal is referrals from previous participants. So people that took part last year's cohort, we're going out through all them. They're very people who took part are really good at recognizing who's a good fit for the program for most extent. Second of all, we reach out through existing organizations. So things like not national science fairs, like say the BT Young Scientist, which Patrick Collison won when he was a teenager, and other initiatives that are really well networked in Ireland already. And then also we're doing a bit of media outreach, and that's going live this week around the country.
How does select? What is the application process like, and how do you determine whether somebody ought to be a part of it?
Right. So the application process this year is two stages. We start off just text applications. They're the ones that are open for the next 2 weeks. And after that, we shortlist and we do quick short video interviews with everybody. Now, what the text application is looking to do is, like, to give you a sense of the profile, what we're looking for is, as I mentioned, high potential young people. But what does that entail? It's hard enough to recognize, and I guess that's what we're trying to get better and better at as we go on. I guess you have some experience with that at Lambda as well, right? But we're looking for people who are proactive, who teach themselves and can sort of show a very high-speed trajectory in learning by doing and applying themselves. So in the application form with the text, we ask them about what projects have you done, what are your skills that you've developed, and also just sort of looking for sort of quirky, out-of-the-box stuff, things, signs that they take initiative, things like, just what's I guess like the Y Combinator program question or Sam Altman question, where what's something you hacked or sometimes you broke a rule, and that sort of stuff.
Austin, you bring up an interesting question about the message boards. Part of what was interesting about the early internet is it was less populous, and to be online, you had to be somewhat weird. So free selection was already happening by the fact that, you went on news groups.
It was nerds by virtue of you being on the internet at all. Yeah,
That's right. And obviously today everything's easier. So So it is an interesting question, I think, that you bring up. Now that access to the web is, significantly more ubiquitous, selection becomes a little bit more difficult. So I guess the question I would ask you, Austen, given what you do with Lambda School, and given the fact that many Lambda School students, as far as I can tell, are incredibly conscientious and motivated, what are kind of interesting gauntlets, creative ways, there's kind of obvious stuff, various tests and whatever. What are kind of interesting ways where if you were starting from scratch now, where you could kind of put Hogwarts at the top of the mountain such that the only people that ascend to the top, are people with good legs, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, so what we select for is probably a little bit different than what you may select for, because we're optimizing for, will you get a job? And that's all I really care about. You're optimizing for, are you smart and are you interesting and are you interested, right? And I think that's one of the reasons I say I'm jealous is I had there wasn't a really good way for people like me and Daniel Gross. I think Daniel's actually a little younger than I am. Unless we stumbled upon some random, what was that?
Not in spirit. Go ahead. I guess what I'm trying to claw at is what is the equivalent scene basically that the internet itself was in 2002?
Right. How does the hurdle become nerdy enough that nerdy is maybe the wrong term, but you're trying to select for a type of person who is
You're trying to put in a filter, right? So where people sort of by virtue of being part of whatever niche group or doing whatever activity. What is that thing? What we do is by sections, we go out through groups like the Coder Dojo and the science fairs. And I think that's a selection filter in a way. I don't know if it's as specific as the early internet is yet, but that's kind of what we're...
Science fair is actually a pretty good filter because that's not something everybody does, right? You have to be sufficiently nerdy to enter into high levels of science fairs, I think. The other thing that I think is fascinating is if there's a way to just filter for some combination of intelligence and drive generally, getting all the smart, motivated people in the same room is super, super powerful.
Long term, if we could create a widespread screen for just smart, motivated, interested people based on some general test. Maybe that's a holy grail. That may not be common.
I do think, I'm sorry, we're going to have to advance to the next one, but I do think, by the way, on that front, something fun to think about, Tom, and is not the test. So the test is the obvious way of doing this. Some type of way of truly assessing it, someone's conscientiousness or intellect. The more interesting thing is what are free tests? I guarantee you, anyone writing Lisp, you've already selected yourself into the fact that you're weird, introverted, probably are a hacker, and probably are into, I don't know, aesthetically pleasing programming languages. That says a lot about you. Anyway,
people have organically filtered themselves into groups by doing stuff like that is super interesting. Yeah.
Hey, thanks very much. Really appreciate it.